Welcome back. I'm Tyler, you're watching Scarfing Scarves, and welcome to the 10th installment of Last Week Lolita News. At the top of the segment, Angelic Pretty put out the print equivalent of a shot of NyQuil with their latest release of the Aquarium Carnival series. The undersea design features a variety of Valium-addicted dolphins sleeping eternally in an ocean of sedative serenity. The waves themselves seem to be full of tiny quaalude pearls, and the entire affair might have better served as a painting in a criminal psychiatrist's office than to risk the public safety on a print that may or may not be safe to wear while operating heavy machinery. The Office of Psychiatry refuses to confirm or deny whether the side effects include the sudden urge to sleep with the fishes. No one's stepping up to address just how a dolphin keeps a crown on its head, and the National Wildlife Federation is working overtime to address a public's concern that its dolphins may be experimenting with prescription drugs. Speaking of heavy sedatives, Closet of Frills had no chill last Friday when a certain coordinate stirred up more than just a couple of compliments. The commotion began when a certain party posted a twinning coordinate to the group in hopes of concret. She shall not be named due to her current age and the fact that even derpy children with eyebrows currently involved in colonizing their entire face deserve the chance to start over. And it didn't take long before their sheer gravitational pull attracted several people familiar enough with her history to comment on more than just the advisability of having two dry erasers as the primary means of keeping sweat out of your eyes. The party in question had apparently stolen two belladonna wrist cuffs and some jewelry from the Lolita collective by means of a parasol. The idea of lying low was about as foreign to her as the idea that human eyebrows should not resemble the rebellion of an angry Sharpie, and those who recognized her were quick to remind her of her transgressions through comments so barely subtle that even a pile of salt would pause on touching. The hospital's burn ward has yet to comment on their patient's condition. Moving on to news that will make you long for the eternal oblivion of Aquarium Carnival, Ruffle Chat Uncensored blew the lid off the box of cheap satin and social retardation, commonly known as your average sissy, with one poster's question on whether or not male Lolitas were genuinely interested in the fashion or just fetishists in disguise. The dead horse reportedly had enough life left to kick us all in the face with a couple of tried but true talking points. It was confirmed once more that anyone who dresses like a satin monstrosity isn't in it for reasons you'd want to discuss with small children, and the common tactic of fetishists co-opting trans narratives in order to infiltrate Lolita communities can usually be surmounted by having more spine than your average ball of yarn. Seriously, ladies, I've seen you go for the throat over an ill-matching underskirt. Can we have a little of that fire for the type of person who would fap to a wrist cuff if you gave them half a second in a dark room to do it in? Ugh. Please? Moving on to news that doesn't make me want to set the nearest satin factory on fire, we turn towards Last Week Lolita News' second special segment, in which I present you with a rule, you ignore me entirely, and the world kicks on with nothing of value having been gained. Welcome to Lolita Don'ts. Don't number 1, no squeaky voices. Have you ever wanted to surround yourself with a sound usually associated with a rubber duck, swallow the little fracker hole, and then harass the general public with a vocal pitch that may as well be an oral assault on the senses? No? Then don't talk like a helium-huffing dog whistle. No one wants to hear your kawaii desu take on normal human intonation. Saying kawaii desu made me gag a little in the back of my throat, and I'm now holding you personally responsible for my discomfort until you can gather the common decency to speak like a half-decent human being. Don't number 2. Don't be a weeb in general. Those of you with the fortune not to have come in contact with this term should know that it's a descriptor for the type of person who would dry hump the manga section at your local Barnes & Noble. Their obsession with Japan and its culture has gotten into Call of Duty fandom levels of obnoxious, and you can usually spot them well into the distance by the sheer might of their terrifying squeals. That said, outside of sending waves of terriers into hysterics with your voice alone, no one wants to be associated with the female equivalent of a massive fedora. Your power level should be a matter of privacy. No one wants to hear about your goddamn yaoi, and so help me if you mix your Naruto fandom with this fashion, I will leave you in the same wretched pit of shame you rose from. You may come out when you've gained the common sense not to mix gorgeous dresses with the base interests of a manga-snorting Japanophile. Don't number 3. No smoking! Unless you're with consenting adults in a place that permits it, that is, because I am not your goddamn mother and I could give less of a flying fig what you do to your poor tormented lungs, you sad cancer-puffing macaroon of tar. No, but seriously, I love you. Just don't do it around my dresses and we're cool. Also get medical insurance. Don't number 4. No cat ears. Can this look technically be pulled off if you have the grace and skill of a true Lolita master? Yes. Are you likely going to be the one to beat the odds of looking like a Neko-Mato potato? No. Now put on your barriers and apologize for your transgressions. Don't number 5, and our final don't for the evening, Don't lend out your clothes. They will ruin it, you will cry, and all of this could be avoided if you would just put enough stock in my words not to lend sensitive clothing to people who think handle with care translates to a roundhouse kick straight into a bucket of paint. You think I exaggerate, but you'd be surprised. For I did lend out my clothing once. It was my first dress, a friend of mine needed it for a play, and after being assured that she would treat it with the utmost of care, I loaned her my prized possession with a wig to match. I go to see the play. The curtains open, and my friend, who is supposed to be performing a piece of utter grace and dignity, a la what she described to me, proceeds to roll around on the floor like a coked-up corgi doing tricks for treats. The wig is returned tangled, the dress was unwashed, and I am left with a distrust for my fellow humans when it comes to my closet that with any luck I will impart on to all of you before it's too late, and your friends are the ones dragging their butt across the floor in your expensive Japanese dresses. Because that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for watching Last Week Lolita News, and be sure to tune in next week when we tackle the tough questions like, is this fish stick loliable? Where can you find a Lolita outfit for under $50? And what kind of nuclear event is it going to take before the Lolita community decides it's had enough, the sissies are rounded up by the hundreds, and their collective profiles are purged from the community by the banhammer of 1,000 avenged wrist cuffs? More on how long it'll take Lolitas to be back at each other's throats over underskirts next time on Last Week Lolita News. This has been Tyler. You've been watching Scarfing Scarves, and I'll catch you next time. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed this last episode of Last Week Lolita News. I'd like to give a massive thank you to my patrons on Patreon whose support helps this show continue. And should you want to show your support too, just head over to patreon.com/lastweeklolitanews. Or click the link below. Or to the side. It's the button. This should be obvious. I hope you enjoyed the last episode, and I'll catch you guys next time on Last Week Lolita News.